Hello, assalamu alaikum. My name is Bilal Arshad, and today when I realized that a lot of my friends and classmates were still using DevC++, even though Visual Studio stored code is a lot better option for running codes because it's better in code performance and user friendliness, then I knew that I had to make a demonstration video showing how to use Visual Studio Code. Now the reason why they were still using DevC++ was not because that it has an old GUI or that it has outdated extensions, but because they didn't know how to actually run programs and enter values dynamically into their code using Visual Studio Code. So today I'm going to show how to actually run programs and how to actually enter values dynamically into your code in Visual Studio Code. So in order to run any program in Visual Studio Code, you obviously need to have Visual Studio Code on your desktop. In order to do that, just Google Visual Studio Code, and I'm just going to hit enter over here, and then you will have this link, download Visual Studio Code, and you will click on this link, download Visual Studio Code. After clicking on this link, it will lead to the download page of Visual Studio Code with three links, one for Windows, two in the middle for Linux, and on the right hand side for Apple. Now in my case I'm going to download it for Windows, which will open the download for Visual Studio Code. Now I'm going to cancel this download because I already have Visual Studio Code set up on my computer, but in your case, after the download is complete, you're going to click on this tab and the Visual Studio Code setup will open. But in my case, I'm just going to go into the folder and going to open Visual Studio Code setup. And after opening the Visual Studio Code setup, you're going to click on I accept the agreement and going to click on next, and then you're going to check all of these boxes because these just add on to the user friendliness of Visual Studio Code, and then click on next, and then you're going to hit on this install button. Now I'm not going to click on this install button because I already have Visual Studio Code installed on my computer, and I didn't want it to uninstall it and install it all over again because I had a lot of extensions installed on it already, and I did not want to actually install them all over again. So in my case, I'm not going to actually install this, but in your case, you're going to actually click on this install button, and after a few minutes Visual Studio Code will be on your computer. And after installation, you'll just exit the setup and you will have a similar blue icon on your desktop which says Visual Studio Code, and you're going to click on it and you're going to open it. And the first thing that you want to do after opening Visual Studio Code is that you want to actually install extensions. In order to do that, you will go on the left panel and you can see over here there is this square boxes. There are just these four square boxes over here, and you're going to click on this to open the search command for extensions, and you're going to write code runner, and you're going to click on the first extension that pops up with the name code runner, and you're going to install it. Now the install button for this code runner would be right over here where I have the disable button. I have the disable button over here because I already have this extension installed, but in your case the install button would be over here instead of the disable button. After installing code runner, you want to install another extension. Just enter C++ in the search command and open the first C++ extension made by Microsoft and install it. Again, the installation button would be over here where I have the disable button, and after installing both of these extensions, what you want to do is that you want to actually open folder. In DevC++ we work in projects, but in Visual Studio Code we have to work in folders, and in order to do that, just press Ctrl K and Ctrl O simultaneously. Ctrl K and then Ctrl O simultaneously, and it will allow you to actually open any folder that you want. In my case, I'm just going to open this week 14, and then I'm going to click on select folder. And after opening this folder, you can see on the left hand side there is a panel which is showing all of the files that are in that folder, which, and if I click on these files, it will just open all of these files, and I can just easily access all of these files very easily, which makes it a lot scalable and user friendly as when you compare it to DevC++. Now, in order to run codes, or and in order to run codes, and in order to input values, you would obviously need a code. In my case, I already coded a code with the name simple, and I'm just going to open this, and what this code does is that it takes name as an argument and then last name as an argument and displays it on the output screen. Now, in order to run this code, you have three options. Either you could press Ctrl Alt N, or you could just go on to the top right corner and just click on this triangle which says run code, or right click on the screen and just click on run code. After clicking on run code, you will realize the code is running because it says running right over here in the output terminal, and after that it says enter name. If I try to enter anything over here, it says cannot edit in read only editor. This is because this is the output terminal. In order to input, you have to be working in input terminal, which is right over here, the terminal. By clicking on this, you want to write dot front slash and then the name of the file, which is in my case simple, and then .exe. .exe stands for executable file. After this, you just hit enter, and the code is taking values. Now I'll write the name over here, which is Bilal, and then my last name, which is Arshad, and you can see the whole code just runs. And after this execution, the code is actually still running. If you go into the output terminal, you can see the code is still running. In order to close the code, you have to press Ctrl Alt M, and the code terminates. Done. Exited with code 1 in whatever seconds it was executing. Now, if you don't like this method of actually entering input into your code dynamically by writing dot front slash and then the name of the file and then .exe, you don't want to write this again and again, you don't like the concept of writing this again and again, there is a feature similar to DevC++, which allows you to just run the code directly in the input terminal. In order to do that, you have to go into file, which is on the top left corner, click on it, go to preferences, click on settings, and after opening settings, you want to click on extensions on the bottom, and then you want to scroll down to the bottom, and you will see code runner configuration right over here, and you will click on it, and now you want to find a checkbox which says run in terminal. So after clicking on this, whether to run code in integrated terminal, you want to click on this, and what this does is that when I will run my code, it will just automatically run my code in the input terminal. It's a lot similar to DevC++. Now after running the code, you can see it runs directly in the input terminal, and if I write my name, it goes in there. and my last name, and it shows the output. And this function works a lot similar to DevC++. Just like in DevC++, we had a terminal which would prompt up whenever the code was running, and it would close whenever the code was done with execution. It is a lot similar to that. And just like DevC++, if the code would crash, this whole terminal would crash. And in order to resolve that matter in hand, in order to stop your code from crashing at the time being, in order to stop your code from running, all you have to do is just click on this kill terminal on this bin on the right hand side, and just click on this kill terminal, and it will just stop the code run, and it will stop the code from like crashing at the time being. So this is me showing you how to actually use Visual Studio Code, and how to actually run programs, and how to actually enter value dynamically into your codes using Visual Studio Code. So I hope you like this video, and this is Bilal Arshad, and Allah Hafiz.